Once there was a man whose prison was a chair. The man had a monkey. They made the strangest pair.
What kind of experiment was it, Jeff? What did you do to Ella? What did you do to me?
The man was the prisoner. The monkey held the key.
You want to be the boss now, is that it?
Stop it! No matter how he tried, the man couldn't flee. Locked in his prison, terrified and frail.
Jeff, what is it? Jeff, she's here! She's down here!
The monkey gaining power, keeping him in jail.
Ella, no, don't do it!
The man tried to keep the monkey from his brain, but every move he made became the monkey's gain.
Did you do that, or did she?
She did it.
That's right. She did it.
The monkey ruled the man. It climbed inside his head. And now, as fate would have it, one of them is dead. Monkey Shines.
What's up, rotters, and welcome back to the podcast that takes a deep dive into the best and worst horror films of the 80s and 90s. I'm Stevie, your VHS veteran. How are we all? What's happening? I have been planning the rest of Brain Rot's year, and I've got some really exciting stuff lined up. As I'm leaving my current job at the end of September, it gives me so much more time to finally dedicate a bigger portion of my concentration to the Rot. But you can look forward to in-person action. And we also have a very special Mates of Hell Christmas season that I'll tell you more about in the near future. But yeah, it's going to be good. But today, my partner in slime and good friend Matt Draper swings by to discuss George A. Romero's 1988 offering, Monkey Shines. Now, you don't hear the term monkey shines enough these days, meaning mischievous or playful prankish behaviour, and I think we should bring it back. I really do. Or the monkey shines we got up to on holiday. I hate it already. No, I take it back. That sounded really dodgy. And I don't know why I was northern. Anyway, Matt was last here on the main feed discussing Rick Sloane's Hobgoblins over the Christmas period. And he also joins me once a month on the Cellar Dweller tier on Patreon to discuss new horror releases. This film was a first-time watch for both of us, and I wasn't too sure what to expect. It's not a movie that gets mentioned very much, as far as I can see, and is often regarded as a bit of an anomaly in Romero's catalogue. However, it's certainly very well made, but the tone and core of this movie, adapted from the 1983 novel by Michael Stewart, is uneven and sometimes hilariously confusing. I mean, why does the dude grow fangs? Like, what? All of this and more shall be discussed and questioned, but no promises on finding the answers. Just dropped on Patreon are both the final episode in our Leprechaun franchise retrospective with Mike Munzer. So all episodes covering all 8, for now, movies are available. And also the Mates of Hell stopped by to discuss Fulci's Don't Torture a Duckling. And I'm probably going to get cancelled because of that episode. So before I do, let's talk Monkey Shines. Hello to my partner in slime, Matt Draper.
Oh, hello, Stevie. I thought you were going to start with an insult. I thought that...
No.
I thought you were
Hello, slag.
Oh, hello.
There you go. No, absolutely not. I'm going to bleep that out. How are you? How are you, my friend?
I'm
not
fine.
that.
Oh, I'm okay, mate. I'm all right. I'm absolutely exhausted at the moment, so I'm feeling a little bit run down. But that's just life and work being crazy, and we can all relate, can't we?
Yeah, I whenever I'm tired and I feel exhausted, I'm like, something's wrong, and I go to the doctor. And they send me for blood tests, and they're like, you're absolutely fine. And I'm like, I'm not. Something is wrong. I'm very, very tired. And he's like, well, I'm doing a lot.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? I've just, still not quite back into, like, real life and the pace of how it is. I was just this morning longing for the days of that old lockdown when we just had nothing to really worry about and no social events to have to commit to. And this weekend
there's definitely some lingering effects. Definitely, we're probably all evolved for life in certain ways, in negative ways, probably.
Devolved, yeah.
Aren't you off to? Yeah, devolved. Thank you. Anti-evolved. Aren't you off to a festival or something tomorrow?
Oh,
what are you doing?
Well, it's Brighton Pride tomorrow. So
that's it.
That's usually a big staple for those of us in the Brighton area, but and beyond, because people do like to come for it as well. You can travel here.
Yes.
But tomorrow's like, I don't know what it's going to be. I mean, the weather this British summer has been a bit of a washout for the last couple of weeks, hasn't it? And it's due to rain.
I'm fucking sick of it.
Fucking sick of that. The train strikes are still happening, so any kind of getting in and out of Brighton is being kind of really difficult for anyone who relies on that. And the whole kind of festival part of it is a bit controversial this year anyway, because they programmed the Black Eyed Peas as the headliners for the lineup, which sparked quite a bit of backlash from the queer community, because the Black Eyed Peas also were performing in support of the World Cup at Qatar. So it has generated quite a bit of, let's say, disengagement from the locals. And I don't really know anyone who's actually going to be a part of that now. I think me and my friends are just going to get together and do the festival, the parade, and have some nice time and try and stay dry, really.
Yeah. Well, this generation, don't forget. You think you can just leave something for a few years and then rock back up? You cannot. That's easy. Permanent. It's on your record for life if you do anything now. Sure. But obviously these days, you and we cover new horror releases over on Patreon, and actually tomorrow we've got a new one dropping where we're going to talk about Talk to Me and Insidious: The Red Door and stuff like that. But it's nice to get to chat about an 80s offering, a true brain rot film, right?
Oh, well, this is our wheelhouse, isn't it? Back in our comfort zone. So for sure, it's always lovely to be invited back on for this, Stevie. As you know, I am dead excited for this this little number.
Yeah, and so it's Monkey Shines from 1988, also 1988. What a year. It's probably my favourite year in horror. And that's for my type of horror. I don't think it means the best, most incredible movies came out, but the amount, it was the peak of 80s sort of trash cinema. And you hadn't seen this before, right?
Wacky around this time, isn't it? Mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
Like the original slasher boom has kind of happened, died off, and now we're reinventing it with really unusual and bizarre things, like concepts. And yeah. No, I hadn't seen Monkey Shines before. In fact, I don't really think I'd even heard of it before you put it up for grabs. Yeah.
Well, that actually doesn't surprise me that much, because it's a bit of an anomaly, both in terms of it as a horror film and also in George A. Romero's back catalogue, because it stands out in his work, or is kind of pushed to the side a little bit as something a little bit off the wall. And as a horror movie in 1988, it's, as we were just saying, it definitely doesn't fit into the films we were just referencing, and the madness. It very much feels like an 80s family, almost comedy for the first hour and a half, with these zany characters. I saw it when I was younger, and I never went back.
Okay.
And I'm actually not even sure if I finished it, because I don't think I was old enough to kind of appreciate the human emotion that is in it and the true core elements of the movie. I think I just wanted a straight up mad killer monkey movie, and obviously it's not that, and so I'm not that surprised that you haven't really heard of it, because I think it does fall under the radar for quite a lot of people.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm just doing some research about how this was received as well. Coming off the back of this is the first. We need to talk about the Romero of it all, because it's really interesting from that angle. Generically speaking, I'm not like a super fan of Romero, master of horror, of course, Trilogy of the Dead. And I say trilogy because I think kind of the greatness with that franchise does stop at Day of.
We don't talk
worry
about all
so
the
much
others.
about the Land
No.
of and Diaries, but
Yes.
he has obviously pioneered so much in not just genre but film. Like, some of those early works have changed the path of cinema, and I talk
Absolutely.
speaking to things of like how he cast people of color in lead roles. That groundbreaking, okay, no deny. But after that, there's nothing. Creepshow, great fun. There's not really much else to follow in his career that I really, really love. And I read that this film was his first studio offering, where he worked with Orion Pictures, so he'd previously been doing a lot of independent stuff. This didn't go well. There was a lot of interference from the studio, and when it was released, it kind of bombed. He wasn't happy with the finished product. It didn't do a great job kind of critically or in the box office. And in some ways, watching this before knowing any of that, I was really surprised it even got a cinematic release, because it looks and feels like a televisual movie, and like maybe like a kind a Lifetime channel movie or something, where, as you say, it's kind of this like heartwarming story of a person kind of going through something life-changing and awful, which he then gets to buddy up with a cute little monkey and have a lovely kind of like experience of seeing his life get better. And then of course there's the horror stuff, which almost feels a bit secondary to all of that in this picture.
Yeah. I was reading about the response to it, and there's kind of two camps. There was one who just found it quite offensive in terms of the representation of people with disability, the treatment of women, and the treatment of animals, and then there was the others that say no, but it's film. If you see through all of that, there is this heartwarming story at the center of it. And this was based on a book, right? I think I read, which I didn't know, and it was a British book, I think.
Yeah, I don't, again, like you don't know anything much about the book, but it was, another 80s novel. I guess it looks like kind of a bit of a pulpy novel. Again, didn't get a great critical reception. A lot of the reviews referred to the book as being a bit of a slog and maybe a bit underwritten.
Right. Interesting that it got optioned then.
Well, yeah.
And that Romero was like, I will do it! And especially if, as you say, he'd had such success and control in the independent movie market. And then if you discount, I suppose, Creepshow, I think it made him retreat back into independent because of Orion's. I think Orion were in trouble as well.
Yeah.
I think they were like, we need a hit. And they threw 7 million or something at this and then got kind of not great return.
Well, yeah, that's it. And then, so after this, we go, you're right, he did probably retreat. After this, his next film was Two Evil Eyes, which was, of course, the anthology mixed with Dario Argento's installment.
Yeah.
And then you've got things like The Dark Half, so Stephen King, he goes back into doing adaptations of novels, but working with maybe an author with a bit more clout and prowess to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm the same as you with Romero, because obviously the respect is just automatic. It's there because of, as you said, changing the landscape. And of course, the Dead trilogy. But beyond that, I think it's only really Martin and The Dark Half itself that you just mentioned that really stick out for me. And it's interesting because he's heralded as the master of horror, but it's because he kind of started something new, and we've never moved away from that. He opened up the landscape and we're still treading on it.
He created the zombie genre as we know it, right? It's something you cannot discredit the man for, and of course, posthumously he's even more highly revered because of what could have come, and we lost him so early really in life. So yeah,
agreed. So before we get into it, what did you think in general then? I mean, long, isn't it?
It could have done with a good 20-25 minute trim, I think. It got to the point where about an hour in, and really the actual kind of crux of the plot, what we as horror fans are coming to see, hasn't quite started yet. And then within the next 50 minutes, that kind of plays the main part in the story. Seeing, the monkey. Okay, I'm just saying. Let's face it. I came here because I wanted to see a monkey go fuck people up, right?
Yeah. Right, of course.
And this is, again, I know I should never. We should never judge a film by our expectations of what we want it to be, but my frame of reference when I saw the title Monkey Shines and read the blurb was, ooh, okay, this could be maybe what the Geordie's House segment of Jordan Peele's Nope, which was the most terrifying and intense part of that film for me, and I think many audience members believe the same. This could be maybe like an extended exploration of that. And we've all heard those stories, the real life stories of monkeys and other animals being used for entertainment or for kind of just human jobs where they shouldn't really be, in places that they don't belong. And
I'm looking at you, PG Tips.
Things go wrong. Things go horribly, horribly wrong. So I was like, wow, okay. I want to see some monkey getting revenge on fucking shit humans. And yeah, you get that, but maybe it's not it's not really all that fun. I mean, the monkey's actually just really cute. The monkey's not scary. The monkey was never really threatening. Gosh. She's amazing. Or he, I think the monkey is actually a male. I was
traumatized at the monkey's demise. It is, honestly, I nearly cried at how unfair it all is, because it's not even her fault. Yeah. It's a fucking human. It's humans again.
100%.
And then we're meant to be like, yay, the monkey's dead. And I did not go, yay, the monkey's dead. I was like, yay, fucking Mr. Syringe over there is dead, and now can we just let it come out of the monkey's system, and then it'll be back to being a normal monkey? No, but you tear it up with your own fucking teeth. I was actually angry. And the fact that the epilogue is this, everything's great and happy, and I'm like, it is not.
Is not a happy
Something
ending.
horrible has happened here, and nobody's talking about it. I was not happy. I have to say, for the first half of it, though, I thought, This might be my favourite movie I've ever seen, because I felt like it was lulling you. It's sort of lulling you into this false sense of security in the guise of an almost comedy 80s family movie, as I said. There's heightened, outrageous characters like the grumpy nurse and the overbearing mother.
Yeah.
Yes, the asshole boss, who's just sat eating and complaining. And I adored it. I was like, yes, it reminds me of those screwball comedies of the time, like a bit Father of the Bride or Problem Child. And you think, but when's it gonna suddenly turn? And you find yourself waiting for quite a while for the tone to shift. And I think I wanted it to be sharp and sudden and pull the rug from under you, so you're like, what the fuck? But it's actually very gradual, and the monkey's antics, at first they do feel really comedic, even when he's doing bad shit like killing the canary. And he there's comedy with it, because he sticks it in the lady's slipper. Yeah.
It's kind of like a callback to, we've already seen a banana in the slipper. Oh, she's put her foot in the slipper. Oh, a banana on the foot. Suddenly, now it's a dead bird on the foot.
Right. And it's funny. It's sort of that zany comedy element. And I did find it very moving several times. And I also laughed out loud when they wanted me to. The monkey cleaning montage is one of the most hilarious things and baffling things I've seen all year. When he's pushing that little Hoover and looking at the camera, I was dead. Right. But what you just said about that section in the Jordan Peele, I think my expectations were elsewhere even more, because recently on TikTok, they released these recordings of 911 phone calls, and it's like a sort of horrible but car crash sort of thing where you can't not listen, but it's really, really disturbing. And one of them was the 911 call from that very famous case of that monkey that had been in loads of TV stuff that then just lost it and ripped a woman apart. And it's the owner on the phone, and she's just screaming, going, he's killing her, he's killing her, he's killing her. And the lady's like, what, please, ma'am, who's killing who? She's like, the monkey, it's just ripped her face off, it's pulling her eyes out. And I was shaking. I was shaking because you can hear in the background this monkey screaming. and she's describing what it's doing. And even now, like my
you've given me
stomach's just gone
chills.
all funny.
Yeah.
It's honestly more than any film could ever make me feel. It is one of the most chilling audios I've ever heard. It is horrendous. And then she's saying, he's going to kill me, he's coming for me, he's coming. Oh, it's awful,
It's
Matt.
terrifying. I don't ever want to hear that. But I think
No.
this is part of the fear, isn't it? Because when this is dealt with, the fear comes from the unpredictability of the animal. We do not know where they are, what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, and the push and pull as an audience member comes from you knowing that what they are going through is traumatic, and therefore their reaction, they cannot really be blamed for it. We are the ones to blame for putting them in that scenario.
Yep.
At the same time, though, natural instinct is, holy fucking shit, that's horrifying, and we would never wish that to happen to another person, regardless of what they've done. I think where this film maybe isn't successful is it doesn't quite ever get either of those things across to the audience. Right. I never really felt the trauma of the animal was what was driving it, because actually the story and the plot dictates it's the guy himself. It's Alan who is
genetic meddling as well.
Yeah, that's what's motivating the monkey to take these actions. The monkey is almost acting as a third limb for him, isn't it? His extended
It's like
limb.
His familiar or something. Yeah.
And
it's a representation of his
kind of
rage.
That's it. Yeah, because they established this kind of. Is it a telepathic link? Is it almost at some points it kind of has physical qualities? I don't know.
When we get to that, I have questions and I need answers. I
ain't
don't
gonna
know
get
will
them
not
from
be accepted.
me.
No, you're gonna have to make something up, because I need to understand. I know it's stylized when the Alan grows fangs, and I know that's a stylized moment, and he's not actually growing fangs in that moment. It's just a representation of their telepathic link, but we still never get the explanation of why he can go through the POV of the monkey, because Alan has never been injected with this serum, and then later Jeff goes, oh, I know how to connect with a monkey, inject myself with the serum, and that doesn't make sense to me. I'd love to know if in the book by Michael Stewart, if that is more explicit, or we get some sort of explanation. I heard a lot of this was cut as well, because it is already 2 hours and it was a lot more, but for me, that's a loose end that I wasn't satisfied with.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. There are a few things like that where it's just dealt with a little bit unevenly, a little bit ill thought out and not executed to perfection. So, yeah, I can see why this is maybe not Romero's most highly respected work. But, yeah, I think we'll get into it. I just wanted to say also, I think it's really worth mentioning with the monkey itself. So this is a capuchin monkey that they've used for the movie, right? We're not talking like a chimp or a larger monkey. No. It's a tiny little thing, probably cute like one. A foot high. And they are known to be really, as most monkeys and primates are, pretty intelligent, quite easy to train. They are actually, this was a real thing. Monkeys as helpers existed, okay? So
What?
Yeah, in the 70s, there was an organisation that actually did do this, and there's a website you can visit now called monkeyhelpers.org, and on that website they have this still active company helping hands for people with disability, helping them negotiate life. I think the business has quite understandably moved away from animal servants to things like AI and other kind of like tech, but they still have a page on their homepage about the past and the origin of the company, and they got their feet on the ground by training capuchin monkeys and pairing them up with people with disability to aid them in life. So this film, the book or the film, the book I suppose being the original story, is a direct response to something that was really happening in the 70s and throughout the 80s.
Right. So it is an absolute comment on that. Mm-hmm. Oh wow, that's incredible. So it was inspired. It must have been inspired from that. That's really interesting. Good scoop. Thank you for that. That's great. I mean, I definitely think if we're retrievers or nothing. I think that.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask for your synopsis, but before that, I don't know. Have you seen the trailer?
Okay. No, but are you going to refer to the poem?
Yes.
I am dying at this. It's too good.
Yes. So on the trailer, because they used to do this. You know, like the trailer. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for Magic, the Anthony Hopkins film. The trailer is incredible because it's just this. It's a poem. It's a limerick, and it just gets under your skin. And they made this film seem truly terrifying. And in the trailer, the poem goes like this: Once there was a man whose prison was a chair. The man had a monkey. They made the strangest pair. The man was the prisoner, the monkey held the key. No matter how he tried, the man couldn't flee. Locked in his prison, terrified and frail, the monkey wielding power, keeping him in jail. The man tried to keep the monkey from his brain, but every move he made became the monkey's game. The monkey ruled the man, it climbed inside his head, and now as fate would have it, one of them is dead. What? That's misleading.
What's also misleading is that I only knew about that because IMDb have it listed as one of the taglines, to which I thought, hey,
that can't be a tagline. Yeah. Don't think that's printed on the cover of the VHS.
Imagine that. I know. Great.
But can we have your
poem,
It's a great poem, though. It's a great idea. Good marketing.
I love it. And it does, yeah, it makes the film sound a lot better than it's going to be, as these things often do when done well. Okay, mine, which may not have the same effect. So... Monkey Shines follows our protagonist Alan, a fitness fanatic devoid of any other notable personality traits or qualities, whose life is turned upside down after he gets hit by a bus, leaving him without the use of his arms or legs. Trying to get accustomed to his new dependent lifestyle, Alan soon rejects the assistance of his suffocatingly overbearing mother and is walked out on by his clinical cunt of a girlfriend who's having an affair with the incompetent yet sexy surgeon who botched his recovery operation. Played by Stanley Tucci. Did you see that?
Yes.
He was fine.
Yes. He looked hot.
Mm-hmm. Seemingly unsatisfied, alienating his nearest and dearest, Alan soon comes to loggerheads with his new live-in nurse, who has an unhealthy obsession with budgies, leaving him looking for an extra pair of hands around the house. Fortunately, best friend and unethical science researcher Jeff is on hand with a monkey he's been steadily injecting with frozen brain particles to see if it gets clever. At first, Ella the monkey makes for a great companion and live-in servant. She occupies Alan's time by performing dances to jazz standards and does menial cleaning jobs around the house. I can only imagine her polishing surfaces is the only reference to the shine in the title. Shining stuff. Didn't see her shining herself. However, it's not long... I digress. However, it's not long before Ella shows signs of telepathic connection with Alan, and she begins knocking off everyone on his shit list by committing acts of arson, electrocution, and razor blade attacks. Amidst this, we're treated to inexplicable subplots featuring possible shape-shifting, paraplegic oral sex with a monkey trainer, and allusions to bestiality.
Oh, God.
Fortunately, Alan has the smarts to see his monkey pal for the victim of inhumane experimental treatment that she is, and releases her from her suffering by chewing her to death, thus avenging his dead friends, ex and mother, just in time for a miraculous operation which restores full use of all his bodily parts and allows him to live a happy, disability-free life.
Oh, God, that's awkward, isn't it? Oh, God.
It's saying some stuff, this movie. Some stuff that I don't know if I fully agree with.
No, but it starts well, doesn't it? Naked stretches.
Yeah, I was in from the beginning, for sure.
Yeah, and also, when he gets hit by that bus, it's so balletic. He does like a triple sow cow in the air.
I was going to say, okay, you are going to know what that move was as a performer. I was like some kind of like twirling sky pirouette with flailing...
Sky pirouette!
Do you remember those little dolls that you used to have? They had wings and you would put them on a thing and go... Zzz, you'd pull the string and they'd spin like sycamore seeds. That was what he was like.
The sycamore seeds, yeah, it was just like that. And as you say, yeah, so he's had his accident and we meet, that... the comedy surgeon, because we get one moment with Stanley Tucci and he's wisecracking. He's doing like, hey, is he unconscious yet? Great, now we can talk about him. And it's all, the tone
Hey,
is
Linda,
so odd.
look, his ass is hairier than yours.
Yes, exactly. The tone is bizarre, isn't it? And I couldn't think of anything worse. But so he eventually comes home to a welcome party of everyone he's ever known. And it's like, Jesus, the man's lost use of everything below his neck. The last thing you'd want to finally get home is to arrive and then your estranged, I don't know if it's wife or girlfriend. It's just awful.
It's a lot for him, isn't it? The poor guy. Like, I really felt for him at the beginning of this movie.
It's a pity party.
They throw the pity party, and they try to mask it in, this is a celebration of his survival of the accident, right? It's a miracle he's still alive. That's what we're led to believe. Which is later undone when we find out that actually the miracle is really that the doctor did such a shit job of his operation that they didn't see the fact that it wasn't the accident that caused him to become disabled. That was always going to happen. It just coincidentally occurred at the same time because of some kind of malformation in his spinal column. Ridiculous.
And I believe in the book he doesn't become cured at the end by some miracle. I believe the original ending in the book is this operation does not work and he remains a quadriplegic. And I think Romero wanted to keep that in, but the studio were like, no, it needs to be, everything's great and happy ending.
This is
and he
Hollywood.
wasn't happy about that. Yeah, exactly. And so we never really, and to be honest, they couldn't explain it because it's absolutely insane, but we never get an explanation of how this is working, that he's freeze drying a human brain, scraping off bits of it like ice, and then just like mixing it up and just injecting brain matter
serum
into into the muscles, into the bloodstream. What are we expected to think is happening?
Anywhere he can get the monkey to sit still long enough for it to be injected into, it seems, right? It's really, that's all really hazy and ill-explained, isn't it? Like, he's obviously doing these experiments. There's a bit of like one of these, like, the ethics conversation comes up in, we're funding you to do this. We're not seeing any results. Should you be doing this experimentation? I'm going to pull your budget if I don't see anything soon. We get that. And yet the science researcher just ends up filing a false report that the monkey's died so he can sneak it out of the office and then palm it off.
I love the on the door outside it says experimental medicine.
Yeah.
Just to, like, basically it might as well say mad professor.
That's it, isn't it? What's also quite confusing is that we were already shown that these monkeys can be trained to perform this job without any kind
don't.
without the
This was one of my biggest gripes.
Because we've got a character called Melanie who is a monkey trainer. She's like the romantic interest for Alan, who is training, dozens of these little monkeys to do this and then farming them out to people who need their help. So why does it have to be any experimentation in the first place? Couldn't he just have had one of them?
Why does it have to have chipped brain in it? Well, like, why is that? Why can't he just use the monkey for his friend, not his own personal experiment? But also, they've already souped up his house, haven't they? It's actually incredible that everything. It's all ready. It's got ramps and stuff, but also they've created. Basically, it's a pre-Alexa, isn't it?
This is the origin of Alexa. Absolutely, I said that.
There is. I found one issue with it though. So obviously everything is numbered in the house. So he might just go 7, and then the door will open, or 9, and the window will open, or 10, the window will close.
And he keeps getting the numbers mixed up because he forgets which number is what. He says 3, and the fireplace goes on instead.
Yes. The issue I can see happening there. What they've done wrong is they haven't had a sort of activation word the way we have to say Alexa blah 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 instead of just going turn on the TV into the room and the TV turns on, because these are just numbers. So if he said a sentence like, oh, I ate a banana too, you've got an 8 and a 2 in that sentence. So just by talking, would you have the windows clattering, the fires on? You know, there's no activation word to say, this.
right.
I'm talking to you. And so it would be actually a chaotic environment. I've just said 7 different numbers that are actually also words, and this room would be flapping.
You'd be like, in the final sequences of Poltergeist, wouldn't you?
Yes, exactly.
What I also thought was a bit of a design flaw in that process was that he has this whole thing where there's a bit of a montage of him trying to get the right number for the right action that he's wanting.
Yes.
You know, like, and he's getting confused every time. If the voice recognition is sophisticated enough to pick up on him saying the word 7 and then perform an action, why did they not just label it open window so he can say open window? Why do we need numbers to correlate to all of these things anyway? It's
so true.
This technology was obviously in its infancy at this point in time, and you know,
it's a prototype.
Regardless, they've done a great job with him, haven't they? You know, they've given him a lot of kit. I mean, his wheelchair is fantastic. He's set up like looking like a predator or something with a laser sight on there that can point to different things around the house. And the monkey, you know, you can point his laser at the oven, and the monkey will go and switch it on and fry him an egg.
But
it's brilliant.
What I love about that is it's already an incredible wheelchair, but Mel, the monkey trainer, is the one who pimps his ride, because when she turns up also, she's like, oh, I don't know how long it would take to train a monkey from scratch. The next scene, here's the monkey, oh, we've trained it.
100%,
oh, great.
Yeah, I know.
There's a time passage.
I was trying to gauge, because they do use the length of his beard as an indicator of time, and I thought that beard has not moved at all. This has happened overnight.
Yes, very quick. So obviously the brain stuff is working.
Oh, you're right. That's it, exactly.
Maybe that's the explanation for that. But she, remember, she's a monkey trainer, and she's paid by a grant, but she knows also mechanics, because she adds this laser. She builds in a special treat box for the monkey. It's amazing what she can do. She's a hell of a woman, is our Mel. The laser's great. The laser idea that you just point at something with the laser and the monkey will go and use it for whatever reason you need to use it.
It's exceptional.
Wonderful. And then we get this montage, the monkey cleaning.
The cleaning montage is great. Yeah, I mean, that aside, like, there are a lot of problems with this, but what I do credit this film with is the fact that actually that it is one of the few films that do depict a person with disability as the lead character. And that was, quite refreshing. I mean, now we are, we've moved on a lot, and we would know that actually we could probably actually cast a person with disability in that role, and things would be dealt with a bit more sensitively. But it was quite like an interesting angle to come at. You don't see a lot of films from the 80s doing this. So.
No, I played a quadriplegic in 3 episodes of Doctors. For international listeners, it's a daytime sort of soap, medical drama soap.
I remember Doctors.
It's still on. But I did 3 episodes, and I was this boy who was a real, BMX whiz, and I come off it, and I end up only being able to move from the neck up. But the problem was, I don't know if I've told this story on the pod before. They say, you never forget how to ride a bike. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know that saying? Mm-hmm. I don't know how true it is, because it had been a while, okay, since I'd been on a bike. And so we're filming, this is my first day of filming, and so we're doing the stuff before I'm in the wheelchair. And they're like, okay, so if you just come around this corner on the bike, and then you go up, and if you pass between those 2 trees, and then we'll set up and we'll do another shot, and the actual, the stunt will be done by a stuntman. And so I was like, yep, cool, popped on, and I was like, whoops, sorry, a little bit wobbly, and then started pedaling and sort of, came off the side, had to put my foot down, and turns, and I could see all of the crew set up with their booms and everything. There's about 100 people watching me, and it turns out I kind of did forget how to ride a bike. And of course, this character, the whole point is, the reason he becomes a quadriplegic is because he is this adept BMXer. And it was not happening. And so they resorted to having to push me into frame from behind and have someone on the ground ready to grab the bike when it goes to the frame. And so what you eventually got, I did get the knack of it eventually towards the end of the day, but we had to keep shooting because that thing turns so quickly, those episodes. It's like 30 scenes a day. And you see it, and it's really quick shots of me, like, just almost static being pushed across the frame. And then suddenly this guy doing this amazing flip up on a hill and then coming off it. So, yeah, it reminded me of that. It was just dreadful.
Stevie, where can we see that? Is it out there?
Oh, no, it's dead, deleted, and you don't even go and look for it, ever. But we start to see Ella the monkey showing some signs, because Jeffrey's there. And he's secretly still injecting her, and then we see her with that sort of herb chopper going like, no, I shan't take this anymore. And, it's one of those things where you want the monkey to go bad. You want it, for the sort of films we love, you want to see it get aggressive. And it doesn't take the turn you expect, because what do you think then about this connection that we start to see develop? Because we start to see that Alan is very angry and he starts to experience rage. And of course, I had a look at it, and it is, of course, something that most people who find themselves with a disability do go through these stages where they are absolutely furious and angry at how unfair it all is. And I was wondering if it is meant to be a metaphor, the whole thing.
The treatment of his character is interesting, isn't it? Because quite early on as well, we get this moment where he tries to take his life, and he attempts to suffocate himself, doesn't he, with plastic
cellophane
like
sort of thing,
suit cover from a wardrobe or something, and then there's this comment about this being a really quite common occurrence for people in the early stages of adjusting to this change in their life, and then they put him on, or do they talk about getting him on antidepressants to help him? Yeah. He actively is pushing away a lot of people, and there is a lot of anger, as you say there. I felt that the problem that I found was, it was never quite clear to me whether the monkey was influencing the anger within him as well. Were they saying that the monkey was angry on his behalf at times because the monkey understood, it had emotional awareness, and it understood his feelings, it could observe the things that were happening around him, so maybe the monkey knew that his partner had left him and had an affair with the surgeon, so therefore the monkey is exacting revenge on his behalf? But it was almost a bit like the chicken eggs question. Is he angry and making the monkey angry, or is the monkey making him angry?
I think the film poses that question but never really answers it for us, because there's a big thing throughout it of, did you do that, or did the monkey do that? So when the monkey does something out of line or smashes something, there's the question of, did he do that for you, or did he do it because he's a little shithead, basically? And that comes up a lot. And at the end, he kind of confirms, no, it's not me, it's the monkey's just mental. And of course, we also have the extra knowledge that the monkey is being injected with brain flakes. So it's a great sort of question. I'm just not sure they leave it with us. They kind of bow out of it and go, no, actually, it's just the monkey. I don't know. I kind of liked the question that was posed.
But I suppose that metaphor reading that you mentioned there is a bit troubling, isn't it? Because are we then saying that because of his disability, he's full of anger to the point where he will kill those around him?
Right.
Right.
And take their life because they're able. Yeah. We definitely see that the monkey is doing it on behalf of him, or what the monkey at least thinks he's doing on behalf of him, because the moment where the canary's like on Alan's face, and of course he can't do anything, and it's almost biting him, and we see the monkey clock it, and then it is a sinister moment because it waits until everyone's asleep and he climbs into the birdcage, and that bit actually got me, and I felt like, oh, this is dark, this feels really uneasy.
Yeah, that's kind of like, the early signs that something's amiss with the monkey, right? It was, I agree, that was really well done. And also, I think just the bird attack was really horrendous to see this guy who was completely unable to defend himself. And birds are scary when they're up in your face, man. I wouldn't want that.
Well, yeah, especially if you can't wave them away. It was a horrible moment, and I felt sort of almost claustrophobic watching that. And it was a good representation of just fucking how hard everything must be.
Slight tangent. I can only ever think of when you see a budgie attack in a film, which doesn't happen that often.
I know what you're going to say.
It's the Nightmare Part 2 moment where the bird just explodes into a ball of flame.
Goes crazy in circles and then explodes into a flame. I knew you were going to say that. That's exactly what I thought of as well when you first see it. This whole second opinion thing, I don't know about this, when they're like, it looks like Stanley Tucci made a mistake, and the coincidence that you got hit by a bus at the exact same time that your body was already going to cause this paralysis is a bit of a stretch for me. I don't know.
It's kind of ludicrous. Do they even say, I can't remember, do they state that the accident may have triggered its onset early?
Right.
Would make a bit more sense, wouldn't it? Like, but it was always inevitable because of this defect that you carried. Like, very strange. And the fact that it's so easily reversible is...
No. That's the real Hollywood element for me, especially knowing that in the book that doesn't happen and it's false hope, and then it's quite a somber ending.
It's insulting, isn't it? And especially when you could look at this and you could have used this as an opportunity to represent an underrepresented group and show that it is possible to live a good life.
Yes, that should have been the message.
And yet they decide to completely retract that by coming up with this miraculous cure, which no one in the real world in those circumstances will ever be able to experience.
Reverse. In such a way that he gets complete and full recovery of all of his muscles and limbs. Absolutely not. And obviously then we see that Ella is acting on her own, the monkey. She's a free agent. She's self-employed because she's off. He's seeing her POV. This is all a little bit confusing as well. And he sees her burn down the house with Stanley Tucci and his ex in. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about all the POV stuff and what it means.
It is really confusing. It definitely is suggesting that there's an element of control, or maybe like a passive observance coming from Alan, where he can see what she's doing, but yet at the same time he's as confused as everyone else when they're asking how things happened like that. He doesn't know, like he doesn't know that the monkey has killed his mum, and he hasn't presumably controlled the monkey to kill his mum because she's pissing him off and like smothering him a bit too much. That feels like a really extreme reaction if he was the one in the driving seat of the monkey.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be in control. He seems to be along for the ride, doesn't he? Which is,
maybe not lucidly, because he can't recall it after the event, can he?
No.
And let's just talk about. There's a moment where let's talk about the blood drinking of the monkey.
When he licks the blood, yeah.
And it's almost. I thought it read as a bit sexual. I thought
I did not like it.
Romantic...
I did not like it. There's
feels
tongue
like the
in
monkey.
mouth with a monkey, and I did not sit. It didn't sit well with me.
It felt to me like they were suggesting that throughout as well that the monkey maybe had a bit of like a romantic love for him, which maybe wasn't reciprocated. But then when you've got them having a French kiss, moments, scenes later,
confirms that.
Yeah,
because he if Mel puts her hand on his, like the monkey's knocking it off, like no, he's my man.
Yeah, being protective. Yeah, back off, bitch.
It's all of the sort of sexual stuff and relationships in this are all a bit icky for me, because of course we have the sex scene between Mel and Alan, and apparently this is the cut version, and they filmed it and it was much longer and more graphic. And I don't know. I don't know what to say about it, because it's not the fact that I'm seeing, a quadriplegic person giving oral sex to a female. That's not the problem. It's the way they're showing it feels off. What did you think?
Yeah, it's not great. Mel is suspending herself from like the equipment, the harness that is installed to help him in and out of bed. I think it's, in some ways, I think really lovely to like show sex positive scenes of people with disability enjoying it. Great. And it's just that it's kind of I think it's tonally off because it's intercut with these scenes where Mel's big cage full of monkeys that she trains are all in a frenzy and getting worked up and like in like an incremental way alongside them reaching climax. So, as they get closer to orgasm, the monkeys are screaming. It's they're all going wild, as if like there's this kind of symbiotic connection between them and all of these rage-filled monkeys. Like, it just creates a bit of a darkness to that scene, which isn't as nice as like, oh, actually, it could have been quite a nice, tender, romantic love scene.
Yes, I think that's probably what sort of off-footed me, probably, because something felt so odd and frantic and a little bit, I don't know, uncomfortable. Tell me about, Matt, the child's play moment when Jeff decides to take the serum himself. He goes, right, I'm going to connect with the monkey by taking the serum, and then black clouds form in the sky above the building, like he's saying, give me the power, I beg of you. What is happening? What are we in supernatural territory now?
This is where it really goes off the rails. Yeah,
Yes.
It's so confusing because that brain serum, is it the same brain serum? It's not brain from Alan, but it allows...
No, it was a brain from a young girl who was in an accident.
Was that where it came from? Oh, God.
Yeah.
But how does... Is it the same brain that this monkey's always been injected with then?
Apparently, I think it's just the one brain that he freeze-dried and then powdered and then made a batch.
Oh, he's making that brain
serum.
last, isn't he? Yeah, he's spreading that thin. Okay. I don't know if I've got the answers for you here, Stevie.
Because he literally injects himself and it's like... I have it makes zero sense. And then all the monkeys go crazy and knocking everything over. A lot of corrosive liquids with no caps or corks, by the way. Everything they knock over just pours out and just burns holes. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, that lab needs to be shut down immediately. It's public health concern, isn't it?
And we don't, in terms of the deaths, we never really see anything, do we? Not properly. Like the mum in the bath, we just see her hand out of it. The fire, things like that. It feels like it pulls its punches a bit for a film that is R-rated.
Yeah, it definitely does. Well, I was also really surprised and maybe a little bit let down by this because another real joy in the opening credits was to see that Tom Savini was on board. So
I know
Romero's obviously got his old mate back on for the ride, and I thought, great, we're going to get some real grisly good stuff here. And there's really very little of anything. The most I can recall,
he made the monkeys. That's what it was. He made 3 fake monkeys apparently, and that was his job.
The puppets,
the puppets,
which really good because I couldn't tell where the seams were. I wasn't looking out for it.
There was one moment when it's coming up towards the end when Mel gets attacked on the floor and she's thrashing with it on his face, on her face, and I was like, I can see that the limbs of the monkey are kind of bending and flapping in places they shouldn't.
Okay, I didn't notice that too much. There's a bit there's a kind of dream sequence moment we'll get to where you can really see that Savini's had a part in that. But otherwise, it was mostly just a lot of like. Yeah, off-screen or injectable moments where I could have done that with one of them old like extendable lead pencils you used to get, right? Just similar.
Yeah, you always did that and it goes in. Yeah,
pretend you were shooting up in school. Yeah,
yeah, used to do that a lot. But Ella is now. The thing is, it's not really a rampage. It's all quite contained and thought through. Like she's slashing the palm. Or she's injecting Jeff, and he immediately looks awful because, of course, there's another syringe, which is like a
tranquilizer
that knocks you out. Tranquilizer, yeah. So there's one that's a tranquilizer, and it's apparently got enough to put down 30 elephants or something. So we know that that syringe is going to get used, and the monkey puts it into Jeff, and he immediately looks absolutely dreadful. And then the monkey takes out Alan's battery, so he's now really imprisoning Alan. And do you feel the monkey's turned against Alan completely, or is it he just wants him to himself?
Ooh, question. Good one. Don't know. I think I'd stopped caring so much by this point. It tailed off a little bit.
It's a slow climax for a movie.
It is, yeah. And I think at this point I got the sense that the monkey was just a little bit out of control. Like Alan himself was no longer
Rageful.
I think he was obviously regretful of seeing the actions the monkey was taking. You know, he was starting to see the people around him getting killed, so he wanted to intervene. But and I think maybe the monkey was just more in self-defense, knowing that Alan was the thing standing in between her and survival, freedom. Maybe
I'll buy that. Very dark that when the monkey's trying to use matches to light Mel on fire, like matches in her hair, but it's damp.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's
that
dark.
was nice.
He's not very
so
good.
Fucking clever. Could have done with some gasoline.
Yeah, considering everything else she's just done, I should say. And then the syringe poking on the cheek. I was like, I want it to happen though. And part of me was like, for the climax, I want to see that. I want to see the monkey actually doing something truly horrific, but we don't really. And then suddenly Alan's got his fangs again.
Alan's fangs.
And he's like, I'm gonna fucking rip you up. I'm gonna fucking eat your fucking heart. I hated this moment where Alan ends the monkey's life. I hated it.
It was a hard watch, wasn't it? It was sad.
It's so horrible because, as I said earlier, you know, the monkey's like this because your mate's been sticking fucking needles in its arse for the last God knows how long. It just upset me so much. And the way he just rips it up with his teeth.
No thanks. Thanks for looking after me, mate.
What did you think of the jump scare? Because I wish it had just ended there so much. Just to
Are you
really fuck
talking
with your head.
Are you talking about the
Yeah.
operation room?
Yes, tell me about it.
Okay, so in the epilogue, we see Alan after Monkey is dead and we are safe in the knowledge that Alan and his partner are going to be okay. They put him in for this reversal operation that's going to give him back all of his limbs and use of his limbs. He hasn't lost the limbs; they're still there.
No.
And it's the alien chestburster scene, basically, isn't it?
Yes, but with a monkey.
We've got them opening a wound, and then the monkey just bursts out of his back after the surgeon has scalpeled it, and it looks
Covered in
blood. Covered in blood. Yeah, it was a good scare. It was a good jump, because it was very unexpected, because we haven't really seen it do anything like that yet. The film hasn't really played with surrealism, so it kind of did take me off guard and caught my attention. And yeah, had that been the final moment, I would have loved it.
It should have done, because that would have really fucked with your head, wouldn't it? You'd be like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on now?
It would have been equally as baffling as seeing Alan grow monkey teeth and,
Well,
all of the
yes.
POV stuff. It might have actually made more sense, because I would have maybe taken
Double
from
down.
maybe I'd have taken from it that the monkey had been within him all along or something. Maybe it would have set up for quite a nice sequel.
Yes, quite. Oh, but no, they follow through with he's cured and everything's fine, which I mean, I don't like. And as I said, knowing that is not the intended ending, it didn't sit well with me. But what a weird movie.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll watch it again just because it's so long, and also there's nothing to look forward to, if that makes sense. Like, there's not like, I mean, as in, with movies that you haven't seen for a while, or that you think, I'll watch that again, because you have these images in your head, and you're like, that bit was great.
That bit's great.
And you can't wait to get to those moments. I don't think 2 hours is worth sitting through for that alien chestburster moment.
No.
I'm glad though it's in my head now, and I can sort of tick it off as as a movie I have seen. But
Yeah.
it's very strangely paced and tonally off.
Yes,
What are your conclusion?
I agree. I probably won't revisit it for the reasons you say. I think it's a bit turgid in its pacing, and it's kind of devoid of thrills for exactly that. There's no great set piece. There's no great thing where you think, oh, there's no real exciting payoff to any of the stuff that's set up really quite well in the beginning. I think it's a really interesting, as part of Romero's filmography, I think it's quite an interesting chapter to see something that he did that was a bit unusual. And maybe it's quite an interesting entry to the canon of when animals attack horror. But there are so many better of that ilk that whenever I want to go see Monkeys on the Rampage, I think there's probably another 5 or 6 movies out there that are doing it better, and I know you've covered some of them. So maybe not better, but in providing the excitement that you would look for as a horror fan. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think the message is a little muddled in the movie, and that always leaves a bit of a dodgy taste in my mouth, because I've sort of come away from it going, I don't know if that's spreading anything positive or realistic expectations, or I don't think it really dealt with the core of the narrative very well.
Yeah, it's really marred by probably some of the attitudes of the time that it was made in.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
But I'm not unhappy we watched it.
No, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
Not furious.
And the monkey is cute as fuck. Not
Sure.
furious. Good word. But tomorrow, I will see you tomorrow over on Patreon for Future Frights. And we've got a few, haven't we? The Blackening, Quicksand, Insidious, The Red Door, Bird Box Barcelona. Yes. And of course, Talk to Me. So until then, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on my Instagram at Draper Did That, or you can come and see my lovely little horror soundtrack vinyl collection at Draper's Discs. Check it out.
Yeah, boy. Well, listen, Partner in Slime, thank you very much. Enjoy Brighton Pride. Hold on to some endorphins, and I will see you tomorrow.
See you then, buddy. Ciao.
Bye. Well, there we go, Rotters. Thank you, Matt. You absolute bloody dream. Fucking weird movie, but fucking great chat. Next week. Oh my god. I am so excited. So, Rotters, we will be covering Don Dola's 1982 cult classic, Night Beast. It's finally been added to VOD on Amazon, and I've been waiting for that to happen before covering it, because it's one of those films that you have to watch before listening to the chat. You don't even have to listen to the chat, just watch it. So you've got your homework, Rotters. Listen, if you're enjoying the pod, it would mean so much to me if you could just take a few seconds to rate and or review the show on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening from. It really helps to recruit new Rotters and bring us all together. There's still lots of us out there yet to join the trash heap, so let's do a big effort push on that. But until next week, Rotters, Night Beast, Toodles!